Alrighty, guys, joining me today, Bad Karma Wrestling in the building, Nick Johnston, and joining me today, very special guest. This is the GM and also the voice, the sound of CSW, the commentator. It's Steve Ahrendt joining me today. How you doing, Steve?
Hey, glad to be here. Bad Karma Wrestling. That's an interesting title for a show. You've got
Yeah,
on one side, you've got Jonathan Hood of ESPN 1000 with Good Karma, and you are the flip side at Bad Karma. And don't think that I don't know there's not an Illinois media school tie in there, because Hoodie was my instructor there once upon many years ago.
very good eye on that one. Very good eye. Actually, probably the first one to catch up on that one, in all
Aha!
honesty.
Smarter than the average GM I am.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So, absolute pleasure to have you here. I just want to say thank you for joining me today. Obviously, I've been going to CSW shows since mid 2019, kind of late that era. So, like I said, I love enjoying the work. I've been watching you guys for some time now.
What a coincidence, because that's when I started at CSW in 2019. I was just a mild-mannered manager of a couple of the talents that were running around CSW back at Bishop Guerin at the time. We also did a few at Edison Park. And then right before pandemic hit, they made me general manager over Marco Anthony. And quite frankly, it's been a much better promotion since I've been there, that's for sure. If I do say so
If you
myself.
don't say so yourself,
Got to watch
exactly
that
right.
vanity in my role, man. Pride and ego will kill you.
Well, funny enough, it was right around the pandemic time, I believe. Kill Switch, Luchasaurus, now known as Kill Switch, was one of the last shows to perform, and then I was very excited myself as a fan because I was right before the pandemic. Rhino was supposed to perform, and he was just there not too long ago, actually.
That's right. That was our last show, actually, before the pandemic, was the March show with Rhino. And
Yeah.
I remember it well because Rhino was fighting the Ryan Matthews, and Ryan Matthews came out with hand sanitizer in his shorts. So it looked like he was far more well endowed than he was. It was actually hand sanitizer. So, ladies, I'm just saying, it isn't always the package. Sometimes it's the hand sanitizer.
Absolutely. Oh well, Steve. Like I said, I kind of gave you a little bit of a general idea of who you are. You're the GM of CSW. You are a commentator as well. But kind of, I just want to pass it on to you. What are your current roles in wrestling? How'd you get involved, and everything in
Well,
between?
you know what? It's a funny story, and you'll appreciate it because of how it started. Back at the good old Illinois Media School, back in my day, it was called the Illinois Center for Broadcasting. I went to school there to be the next great afternoon ESPN or Score drive guy. I wanted the 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock slot. I wanted to take people home with my edgy sports opinions, etc., etc. Well, as we found out at the Illinois Media School, you know, getting a gig like that is a very difficult thing because sometimes you have to start many, many miles away from home in very small markets. And I started doing this at age 43. So I went through a midlife crisis that took me back to school. So here I was thinking about relocating to Bismarck and Fargo, North Dakota, and some of the places that solicited me as a radio personality. And I'm like, I have 2 kids, a wife, and a job that I work 60 hours a week at. It's going to be a little difficult to drop that and then go to Bismarck. And I don't think I'd want to go to Bismarck anymore. I'm not even sure where Bismarck is, but that's neither here nor there. So we're doing the school thing, and after you get out of the school, they still let you come back and use the equipment and do certain things. You have radio shows on the station and such. So I did radio shows on the station for a few years afterwards. And our program director, Pete Ferrari at the time, Dr. Pete, as we knew him then, said, "Hey, I got an opening this Saturday night to do wrestling commentary. You like wrestling, right, Steve?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I've watched wrestling for many years. I like it. I think I could do it." So I'm thinking to myself, I'm much more suited to call football or baseball or basketball. Never really thought about doing wrestling, but I probably could do it. I mean, watch Jim Ross do it. So I went to a company in Midlothian called PCW, Pro Championship Wrestling. This is 2014. I had been at broadcasting school for like 8 months at the time. So this is my first live gig, and I'm like, okay, how hard can it be? Jim Ross makes it look easy. So I basically, for 3 hours at a wrestling show, did knockoff Jim Ross impressions. Everything was a slobber knocker. Everything was, my He has a family. I'm even doing the Southern drawl. Somehow the people liked it and said, we want him to come back. So, as we went forward a few shows, I started to get a little more comfortable. I started to understand the storylines a little bit. And then in December of that year, the company shut down. As you know, in independent wrestling, nothing is forever. So I'm like, okay, well, the company's dead. So am I. I'm never working again. The next year, a couple of the wrestlers from that promotion said, hey, we got a new promotion we're doing. Can you come do commentary for us? And I'm like, oh, man, can't believe they're asking me to do this. I didn't think they liked me. So I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. So then I did a company called Crash Tested Wrestling. And that was some pretty cool stuff because I got to do commentary with Road Warrior Animal. I got to do commentary with Billy Gunn because they would come in as special guests and do things. So, I'm starting to get, comfortable in my own skits. It's a little hard to be comfortable when you're sitting next to someone like Animal of the Road Warriors, a legend. And obviously you see what Billy Gunn is still doing even on AEW today. So little intimidating, but I was able to handle it and I got better from it. Well, then CTW closes. And I'm like, well, that's got to be it. I've come to two companies and two companies have shut down. I'm a bad luck or born under a bad sign. So then a couple of the guys that worked at CTW had another promotion called Global Professional Wrestling. Hey, come on over. Let's see what we can do here. So it was there that I did some commentary, but I became general manager for the first time at a promotion. So that was my first stint as general manager. And that led to me doing some matches in the ring where I would put tights on, lace up the boots, and I got trained. Not very well, but it was to help the
Enough to get by.
storyline. So I was the evil GM. I was Eric Bischoff. I was the evil bastard. I was Vince McMahon. I was out to get everybody. I made my own faction, and then I ended up dying at the end. And our last show, then the company closed again. So at that time, Steve Boz and TJ Steele, the Bro Bros, as you know at CSW very well, were working at GPW. They were our champions. So when GPW closed, I get a call from TJ Steele. Hey, we want to bring you out to CSW and see what you can do here. So I went to CSW and they made me GM right away. So from 2020 till very recently, I'd been GM at CSW, and then they made me commentator. And commentating, has been pretty cool because now I'm on IWTV. So, where commentary was kind of a sideline gig for a while, now it's first and foremost because now we're being viewed, hundreds of thousands of times on IWTV, and they're hearing my voice. So I'm speaking for the company. So it's a lot of responsibility, but that's kind of how my origin story happened. I got lucky. I got put in places accidentally, and like a bad penny, I just kept showing up.
Sometimes how it is.
End.
And sometimes it is just right place, right time. Even though even though you got some doors closing, other doors are opening. Just opportunities constantly. So it's really an awesome story to hear. Honestly,
you just have to be willing to be a part of something and try it out. It's not always going to work out. I've been to places that didn't work out for me. I'm doing ring announcing a little bit now, so I'm trying to become that Swiss Army knife and be able to do a little bit of everything, because the more things you can do, the more companies can use you.
Yeah, no, I honestly try to pry that in the same thing with my work too. So yeah, try to be exactly that Swiss Army man. Try to be an everything guy.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, do you find it more fun being a GM, or you find it maybe more fun being a commentator over on the CSW side, or a little bit of both?
Wow, that's a great question. I love being GM. It's fun to be a character in a wrestling show, to be a character in a wrestling company. And if you would have asked me a few years ago, I would have said GM, absolutely. But commentary has kind of taken a strange turn in the land of wrestling. It's become very important. It was never really regarded as very much. I mean, it was good. If you had good commentary, people would watch it. But now you have all these streaming services, and you have places like WWE and AEW watching everything, WWE ID, all that stuff. So if you're going to have a promotion, you're going to want them to have solid commentary, because if the commentary sucks, it will you're not going to put over your talent right. So, if I didn't think before that commentary was important as being a general manager, because I like being a character. Now I've kind of laid into, being a commentator, because, you're certainly much more visible. Some people like you, some people don't, but that's great. People are having an opinion about you, and that's a good thing. So I think commentary I'm enjoying more than I ever have right now. But I still love getting out there and doing GM things. I had my last in-ring match because I'm an old man now, and it took me 2.5 weeks to recover from the last ass whipping I had. So I've decided that getting hit with steel chairs is a thing of the past for me. So at Rocket Pro in May, that was my last ever in-ring, and Shaq Jordan beat the absolute Christ right out of me. Boy, it was bad.
Oh
Bad,
boy.
bad, bad, bad.
Not that's not good to hear, but I'm glad to hear that. You're exactly right. I mean, you're being the commentator. You're the mouthpiece. You are the narrator. You're the narrator. You're setting up the story. And exactly right. Putting over the talent. One of the most important things. Obviously, right. But yeah, like I said, you kind of mentioned it at least in the commentary side of things. Like I was going to ask, maybe like, what are your more inspirations on the GM side of things, and what are your inspirations on the commentary side of things? You said a little bit JR on the commentary. Do you see like maybe a Teddy Long side on the GM side? How do you feel?
Teddy Long, my partner on my podcast, the Power Hour C Red, absolutely hates Teddy Long. So that's
Oh
funny that you
no.
mentioned that. There's a great story there. You should have C Red on your show at some point.
I would love
You
to
want
get
to talk about a man
love
with
to get connected.
stories?
That'd be great.
I'll tell him you're looking for him because he is one of my good friends in this business. He has been around a long time. He was the original manager and member of a group called the Soul Touchers, Acid Jazz, Marche Rocket, Trauma, Willie the Bomb Richardson. If you know anything about independent wrestling and Chicago wrestling, the Soul Touchers should be at the top of your bucket list to see them. Uh, as far as it goes, though, general manager, I try to be very Paul Heyman-esque
Mm.
because I like how Paul Heyman speaks and I like how edgy he is. Not that he's the general manager right now, but he's been general manager before. And even when he comes out as the wise man, he's kind of got a managerial role. And I just love the swagger, the confidence. Do not mess with me because I'm Paul Heyman. So, I've always had that kind of idea in my head of the character I wanted to be. You know what? I'm going to say whatever's on my mind. I'm going to react in the moment. And if I get my ass kicked because of it, so be it. So, I've always been very outspoken as a general manager, and I get in the face of anybody that gets in mine. And, I've been beaten many times for it, but that's always been my appeal as general manager. I don't care if you hit me with a chair. I'm going to tell you how I feel, and you will bend to my will. Now, on commentary, a lot of people on commentary that I draw from. Obviously, to me, Jim Ross is the GOAT. I mean, Jim Ross back in the 90s and 2000s probably was never anybody ever better. To me, at least, I would watch it for that. And when JR wouldn't be there, it wouldn't mean as much to me because I liked hearing his storytelling. And certainly, him and King were a great team, but I like JR more. Tony Schiavone has always been an inspiration. I got a chance to meet him. Really cool guy, very, very good at doing commentary. I really enjoy what Taz is doing these days. And as much as I despised him at first, I feel like Michael Cole and I have walked similar paths. Now, I haven't been in the WWE, obviously, but Michael Cole of late has basically embraced everything I do. Now, I'm sure it's not because he's watched me or anything, but have you noticed
Never know.
lately that
Never know.
have you been watching? He's been very aggressive lately. Gunther got up in it. He got in there. He's not, and he said in the last episode, I'm gonna be biased in this match. I'm on Pat McAfee's side. I have been biased my entire career. That is not new hat for me. That is old hat. But I love what Michael Cole is doing these days. He is doing the best he's ever done. So there's a lot of great people that do commentary that do it very well. And I'm just, like I said, I'm part of a commentary fraternity, for better or worse. And there's some great local ones too. So there are a lot of people that out there that do this very well, and I'm just happy to be in the fraternity.
It's absolutely awesome. Yeah, just here we go. Michael Cole stealing your bars, flow for flow, bar for bar here.
I don't know if he's stealing my flows, but in my sick mind that believes everything I do is innovative and cutting edge, Michael Cole's stealing my shit.
Stealing your gimmicks.
He's stealing my gimmick, damn it.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned earlier also, 2019 is when you went ahead and joined on in the realm of CSW. But now we've been kind of seeing CSW essentially grow a little bit here and there. And I made note, I was listening to your interview over on Windy City Slam not too long ago.
That lovable man, Mike Panko. What a guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out. Good work over there. Noted that you said that the Elmwood Park shows are a different animal. So I'm not trying to, just cause a stir. Both venues are obviously amazing, but just kind of wanted to maybe expand upon there. Maybe what maybe is the difference between the Franklin Park Arena, the Elmwood Park, and then obviously you can also talk about the Underpass show that's coming up too.
Okay, so Elmwood Park is a giant facility. If you've been to Franklin Park, and I know you have, it's a nice sized facility, but some nights you feel like you're a lobster. I mean, you're all cramped in. The place is packed. There's wall to wall people. Even in the bar they're watching. So Franklin Park has been a just a godsend to CSW. It's a place where we do the show and the after party, and everybody gets to hang out with the wrestlers, whether they're the special guests or the roster people, and it's a good time. And it's very low maintenance because you're already there. So you walk into the other room, you grab a beer, you come out and you talk, and you can get your interviews for your podcast. You hang out, you talk to people like Rhino, people like Tommy Dreamer, and it's pretty simple. At Elmwood Park, it's about 3 times the size of Franklin Park. So the opportunity for bigger crowds is significant. In December, we did over 700,
Wow.
which is a pretty good night. And just this past Friday, May 16th, it was every bit as crowded that night as it was. I haven't heard the final numbers, but I imagine they have to be pretty similar. So it's just a different kind of vibe because it's a bigger crowd. And it seems like since we're only doing Elmwood Park twice a year for the finales that we do, the mid-season finale and then the season finale, May and December, it's got that big big pay-per-view type feel, I guess you could say. So the energy is excellent in Franklin Park, but it's a little different in Elmwood Park. So it's really cool. It's not like you're seeing a different show, but
No,
you
no.
kind of are seeing a different show. Everybody, when they get to that show, it's tension's a little higher. Uh, uh, Match times go a little longer because everybody's in the moment. That's why I felt like I did WrestleMania. It was almost 4.5 hours, which is on commentary is a long time, and I'm sweating through my shirt because you get really into it when the matches are as good as they were. And then now this thing that's happening at the Underpass, this is basically called CSW Academy Upstart. So this is all about the kids that work and train at the CSW Training Academy. It's a chance for them to get exposure in a wrestling setting, even though it's outside. It's we had a pretty good crowd, and the weather sucked last year. God help us. I hope the weather is better this year.
Yeah, it was a little
But
rainy
it's
last
also
season. Yeah.
Steve Boz's birthday show.
Oh,
So Boz, is a man that loves the ground he walks on. Uh, Boz is the greatest. Just ask him. And I kid Boz, but he's earned the respect. So
the
he gets the
OC.
birthday show, and he gets to showcase all of his kids. So Franklin Park's one show, Elmwood Park's another, and CSW Upstart at Underpass is something completely different. And crazy stuff happens at that show. Last year, the monster Hades X1X, you know that character, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
He wrestled in Bermuda shorts and sandals
Oh my god.
in a rainstorm.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, things get a little wonky at the CSW. Can't wait to see what happens this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So I between obviously the parking lot of the underpass, nice venue both at the Franklin Park Arena and the Elmwood Park venue as well. What's the strangest place you've ever been booked for a show? I've asked our boy Axel Rico about this one. He gave a pretty good one.
Axel Rico, boy, that's a guy that you could spend 5 days talking to and not even scratch the surface of what he's been. I'm good friends with his father, Francisco.
Oh
That's a
man.
story for another time. The strangest place. There have been some strange ones. Crash Tested Wrestling used to wrestle in a church.
Okay.
Like we used to do commentary from the altar. Uh, that Catholic upbringing, watching the priest, breaking the bread and blessing the wine at the altar, and I'm calling, somebody's busted open from a chair shot
Yeah.
from that same altar. It was a small community church in Munster, Indiana. So that is a strange place.
Those by
When
gods are gonna hit different.
Yeah, it's it's certainly with the statues of Jesus and such, it certainly changes the dynamic of what you're trying to do that evening. We had another run at Crash Tested Wrestling when it came back briefly, where we were working in this little hall, and the ceilings were so low that we had kind of a title on a rope match. It was not a title on a rope match. It was a paper contract duct taped to the ceiling. So that was kind of a strange scenario. Yeah, I've been fortunate. All the promotions that I've worked with have some really nice homes. Frontline Pro, where I'm going this Saturday in Wisconsin, they have this beautiful bar and grill that's just massive, called the Bakerville Bar and Grill, and it is really a cool place to do a show. There's upstairs seating, downstairs seating. There's a full bar and grill, great food. So I always enjoy. Working at Bakerville. It's a very unique venue. I remember when CSW ran at Edison Park in the upstairs of a restaurant. That was a strange thing. Bishop Guerin's school, where it's the biggest place and the longest walk you've ever had. So, like I said, there's been crazy places, but I've been pretty lucky. Axel Rico has wrestled in some closets. I worked for a promotion. It was before it was called IPW. It was called something else. I worked there, and they worked in a storage unit in Dalton, Illinois, like where you would put your car or where you would put some furniture if you moved.
Oh my
And
God.
it worked. It was a nice crowd, fun place, but you could really anywhere you could put a ring up. We worked at a flea market once, so
Oh, nice.
yeah. Now you're opening the floodgates of all the bad memories. So I'm closing that dam right off. I don't need to go back.
I know now it's kind of a little becoming of a trend of some minor league baseball teams having some independent wrestling shows there. I know the Windy City Thunderbolts
Yeah.
usually put together some pretty good shows.
Rocket Pro Wrestling is very active with minor league baseball, and they haven't done shows with them yet, but they do fundraising and charity work with them. So I imagine a show is imminent at some point.
I would hope so. That'd be absolutely fantastic. Well, kind of wanted to carry on and get into maybe a little bit of the roster, maybe just talk about some of the competitors that we
Sure.
usually see here in CSW. But I want to say first and foremost, let's hear it for the gals. Let's hear it for the girls, because I want to get your thoughts on the woman talent that is, I mean, let's say I would say graduating to the big leagues, including big names such as Sky Blue, Heather Reckless, and Maggie Lee, all coming through the doors of CSW. I just want to maybe get your comments and your thoughts on all those big time names coming through those doors at CSW.
It is I have said it for many years. One of the strongest things CSW does is put women in a position to succeed. We have had many shows where the women have been the main event because they are the main event. Obviously, you talked about some of the people that have enjoyed international success. Certainly, Sky Blue, probably the biggest name right now. Let's not forget about her predecessors. The first ever CSW women's champion, Missa Kate. I
Oh,
kind of
absolutely.
feel like she doesn't get the due she deserves. She has been grinding for a long time, and she has been at NWA. You see her at backstage at AEW, backstage at TNA. She's out there, and she just faced Marche Rocket and took Marche Rocket to the wall. He chopped her 3 times, and she kept going for more. She slapped him in the face so hard that I'm pretty sure some of Marche's fillings got knocked on the floor. Uh, she is a hell of a competitor and deserves way better than she's gotten in this business thus far. Same thing with former CSW Women's Champion Sierra, who to me right now might be one of the best wrestlers women wrestlers in the business right now. She gets none of the due she deserves. She is a road warrior. She is as skilled and versatile as it gets. So I'm very fond of that package. Now, obviously, Maggie Lee is on a rocket ride to the top right now, and she's earned every bit of it. She's a fantastic performer. Dreamwave World Champion, CSW Superstar, now at TNA. And it looks like she's joining Heather Reckless's faction, of all things.
Yeah, I've been
And,
seeing that.
Heather Reckless, I remember when she started. Uh, she has improved every year exponentially. She is a terrific talent. And the list goes on and on. Right now, Amina Belmont, as much as my character is at odds with her, fantastic talent. We got Blair Onyx back. Her spider gimmick is one of the best thing in the indies right now. So, the line at CSW for the women, Lily La Pescadita, NWA, she was at the 76th, the Philly show. So, she's representing right now. So, the sky is the limit for the women at CSW, and I think it will continue to grow. All the guests are wanting to come. J Rod was just there. Natalia Markova was just there. Megan Bain has been at CSW 3 times before she hit it big at AEW. So, we are a place where, women can come and work and get serious, good work, not gimmicky stuff. And I think that's what makes CSW special.
It is a very important part, not the gimmicky stuff. You get there, you're from top to bottom. You're gonna get a great card. And I made mention of that.
People were talking to me about the Marche Missa match. Oh, Marche's gonna kill her. This is a gimmick match. You watch that match, and you come back to me after you see that match, and you tell me that was a gimmick match. There's nothing. Those two people who are so close went at it tooth and nail. That is one of the things that goes so well. The camaraderie and the dancing, as you will. Everybody has infinite trust, and that's what it takes to make good wrestling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just want to ask, maybe, you put over a ton of people right there when you were just mentioning, but is there anyone that you're really really rooting for? Is there anyone that you feel like just maybe just deserves maybe a little bit more light, or just exactly right? Just someone you're really truly rooting for here in the indie scene?
Well, I always root for Axel. I think Axel, if he doesn't make it big, it's a waste of a man that has a brilliant mind and has all the talent in the world. Bruce Hamilton is on a rocket ship into the stratosphere. He's real good. Conan Lycan. I mean, I can't say that he's underrated because people know who he is.
I would watch Conan Lycan read the newspaper.
Right. I just saw on social media today that Ice Cube's kid, O'Shea Jackson Jr., was shouting out to Conan Lycan. So, if one of the boys in the hood is repping you, then you've pretty much arrived. Putting people over is easy because they all earn it so well. There are other people that have been in this business a long time that I feel like have been cheated out of opportunities. Marche Rocket, although he's with NWA right now and he's been with Impact, kind of feel like a lot of the big companies missed the boat on him, as he is one of the greatest minds I have ever encountered in this business. Joey Jet Avalon should be on TV every week slapping Chris Jericho in the face. Every week. He's one of the best I've ever seen. So, you've got these guys that are older, like Damian Priest. Maybe we'll still have a shot before they hang it up. You hope so, because they're so smart and so savvy and so intelligent. I'll put over Shaq Jordan, the man that just whipped my ass all over Joliet, is the total package. He can do everything. He can ground and pound. He can fly. He is fearless, and he is one of the keenest wrestling minds I've ever. How can you not be one of the greatest if you can take a 55-year-old man with limited wrestling experience and bring the crowd to a standing ovation? And we had 500 strong at Rocket Pro. So if you can do that with a 55-year-old man, meaning me, you can work anybody and do anything, in my opinion. So special shout out to Shaq Jordan, one of the greatest.
And we've been kind of coming to this conclusion here at Bad Karma Wrestling that I think the age for primes is kind of getting pushed back a little bit, where you see exactly right, where Damian Priest is like, he's kind of hitting his stride right now. LA Knight, same thing. He's kind of in his mid to late 40s. Like the age really isn't an issue. If you take care of your body and you're still performing really well, it doesn't really matter. I mean, even up until RVD got injured not too long ago, he's still going right now, just as fine as he was 20 years ago. So
100%. I was supposed to work with RVD this weekend. He was supposed to be at Honor Bound, but he broke his leg at WrestleMania weekend. Nice. So we're not going to get to see him until September or October, I believe.
And I know he's hosting Only Wrestling here at the Admiral Theater. Another interesting spot for wrestling.
Well, if anybody's going to host a wrestling show at the Admiral Theater, it has to be Rob Van Dam. It just has to be. It's as if that was ordained by God himself. I feel like when you're a little bit older, everybody when they're young, I gotta go. Guys like Avalon and Marche are in it 20 years plus. They have seen and done it all. They've had spot work on the bigs, as supporting characters and such. But they understand what you need to do. The psychology of wrestling when you're a little bit older, it changes, and you're not trying to get your shit in as much as you are trying to tell a story and make the crowd have a good time. And once you understand that that's what it's about, and it's not about how many backflips you can do off the top rope, well, then you're in a different mindset and you have a chance to succeed because your priorities are right.
And again, kind of similar when I spoke with Axel Rico, we kind of had that same idea where you like knowing your role, not not going outside not doing anything you're not supposed to type deal. Like exactly right, just kind of playing your part. So it works out. It works out for those.
When you're a young man, you're full of piss and vinegar and you think you're unbeatable and the best thing walking. You're in this business long enough, you're humbled. You're taken down a peg or two. If you don't make it right away, you're disappointed. Is this for me? Do I keep going? So now you're years on and you're like, any opportunity you get, you appreciate. And you want to make it good for the promotion you're working for and for the people you're working in front of. And that's a completely different mindset than somebody that just is only a few years in the business. They're about looking good for TV. You should worry about what you're doing to promote a company and to promote a storyline as opposed to getting your stuff in.
Absolutely. Well, before we kind of talk about maybe recapping what happened May 16th, just last Friday over at the last CSW show, I want to ask you a quick one about just kind of maybe just like just your favorite moment being involved in pro wrestling, whether that be an in-ring spot, maybe a GM decision that you made that really laid down the law, or maybe just witnessing something really, really special. What was your favorite moment so far?
Wow, there are a couple of them. There are a couple of them that jump out of my head immediately. I got to do an in-ring sit-down interview with Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle.
Ooh, nice.
That was a pretty humbling moment for me because he was right in my wheelhouse as being one of the greats. So that was a very special moment for me. There was a night that was not televised because the company involved made us pull off IWTV. It was the night Sky Blue was supposed to fight Missa Kate, and Missa Kate was either injured or had a family emergency. Something happened and she couldn't be there. Well, Sky was traveling with her new friend Kyle Fletcher that night. He was there. So at the last minute, Kyle's like, yeah, let me fight you. So it's Sky Blue in the rings, making an open challenge. Kyle Fletcher coming out to accept. So now you have two AEW superstars in that ring, and the fans are at a fever pitch. And Sky's like, do you want to see this match? And the fans are like, yeah. And Fletcher's like, wait a minute. I'll do this match, but on one condition. I need my own special guest referee.
Oh, man.
And he hit the music, and out of the curtain comes Will Ospreay. And you want to talk about 300 people sounding like 30,000 people? The place went beyond crazy. And I did not know this was happening. So we're on commentary, and all of this is and we're having to react to this in real time. We thought Missa Kate was going to be there. So when they came out and said Missa's not here, Sky, we're like, wait, we're looking at our notes going, what did we miss? They purposefully did not tell me so they would get the genuine reaction.
Good move.
I have still yet to hear it, but those that have heard it say it's one of the best things that I've ever done. I may never hear it because AEW put the kibosh on it, but the way Kyle Fletcher beat Scott, they did some shit in that ring that humans probably shouldn't do to each other. And, when you have a comfort level of boyfriend, girlfriend, you're in a relationship and you're both really good at your craft, then you will put your life in their hands. And boy, that pile driver off the top turnbuckle, I see it in my dreams. I don't know how she didn't die, but it was, the fans loved it. I loved it. Everybody loved it. That's a moment that's hard to get. And I'll tell you what, of all the 12 years I've been doing this, last Saturday night at Rocket, or in May at Rocket Pro Wrestling, my last in-ring match, easily my greatest moment in wrestling ever. Friends and family were there. It was a good match. I bled. I got concertoed. So everything that fan Steve wanted to experience in this business, in one night he got. 500 people chanting my name as the hero. 500 people wanting to carry me out of there when I was hurt. It was a spectacular moment. So I don't know if it'll ever get any better than that. But those are three of my favorite moments from the last 12 years.
That's absolutely fantastic. I mean, just try to convince my girlfriend after that match with Sky Blue and Cow Fudge. Like, no, babe, like it's okay. We can do this if we can work this out. We can figure that. No. So she was still not on board with it. Understandable.
I get it. Like I said, there are just certain things you're like, wow, you'll never see that again. And it was amazing. I was just blessed to be there.
Good move. Absolutely right. Well, exactly right. We could kind of talk about that, and then just kind of actually I wanted to recap exactly right. May 16th, the edition of CSW from top to bottom. Had some fantastic matches. But not only that, a steel cage match. You mentioned the world heavyweight title match. Obviously, also Hans Carden retains his Metro Division championship. His Metro
that was a little sketchy. That was a little sketchy. Here's the thing. For a moment there, everybody at CSW thought Tommy Dreamer was our new Metro Division champion, which means Dreamer comes back for other matches, which is great. The problem was, he used the brass knuckles. And what most of the people do when they use the brass knuckles, they either put them in their shorts or they toss them away. He decided to hold the title with them.
Oh.
And even a blind as a bad official like Kevin Woods saw him reverse the decision, much to the chagrin of a capacity crowd. So it was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Match of the night, no problem, no contest. Had to be Lycan versus Dijak. What those two men did in that ring brought the house down. It was an incredible match. And that is saying something, because the steel cage match between Quintero and El Sueño and Nestra, it was the end of a storyline that has taken a year to tell. And Inestra was terribly injured in that same building in a match versus Quintero. So back to the scene of the crime. And I remember that injury very viscerally, because when it happened, everybody thought it was part of the storyline until it wasn't part of the storyline. And then the IWTV broadcast, they turned the feed off, but they kept my commentary rolling. So I am talking about what everybody's reactions, the gurneys coming in, the medics are there, the ambulance. So I'm basically narrating the injury and the fact that Quintero could be, or Inestra could be dead. So when I listen back to it, I'm like, my God, this is as close as I'm ever going to get to when JR had to do commentary and tell everybody the Blue Blazer was dead. Owen Hart had died. So, it was one of those moments, and I was in that moment going, this can't be happening. But you still had to do your job and be professional. So whenever I hear that, I feel good that I did my job, but I hope I never have to do it again.
Yeah.
But Quintero, the steel cage, they did stuff in that ring. It's exactly the way I set it up that way, because they were going to hurt people outside the ring. They were going to hurt security in the steel cage. All they could do was hurt themselves. So that was a great match. As I said earlier, Missa and Marche, people thought it was going to be a joke. It was no joke. So that's match A, B, and C as far as fantastic. And then there was the Warhorse versus Marston in an I Quit match. Marston made Jake Parnell, the commissar, quit.
Wow.
Was not my bingo card that night. I would have lost my house on that bet. But here we are. So, and right now, that's another guy we talked about who should be doing things at a different level. I don't think there's anybody better in the Chicagoland area and in Wisconsin and all over the place than Jake Parnell. He is categorically one of the best technical wrestlers I've ever seen. He is unparalleled. He's number 132 on PWI's list, and probably should crack that. Probably should crack the Hot 100 this year, because he's just gotten bigger. He's just gotten better, and his character is savage. So big ups to Warhorse Jake Parnell. Who would have thought that when he went from the Slim Jim face paint to this character that he would just get that much better? Certainly not me.
Better with time, absolutely, and he has a great online presence. I love his interactions with the people, and then just him posting his stuff online has been absolutely fantastic.
Man,
that's how you grow the character each time.
He knows how to cut a promo. That much is absolutely certain. Maggie versus Samurai Del Sol. You want to talk about a feather in Maggie's cap? Beating a legend, beating Kalisto from the WWE. I mean, That's an amazing thing for her, and he was so genuinely excited for her when she got that victory. They had a really great moment at the end of that match. So, there so many great things. The Shy Style Rumble was made just like the Royal Rumble. Two men started coming in every 5 minutes until all the people were in there. It started with FXB and Axel Rico, and they were the last two. Axel Rico wins. He gets the title opportunity.
Iron Man in the
Hopefully, he
Rumble.
gets his championship back because nobody deserves it more.
Very much true. And one of the biggest things for me, honestly, was new CSW championship, but at the very end, new CSW tag team champions. My apologies, but it was the turn for Adam Stallion on Cypher. Didn't see that coming at all. Very
I am
disappointing.
disgusted by the whole thing.
Yeah,
I am disgusted that the made men now have all the titles.
that's
This
a
is the
huge
GM.
point too.
This is the GM speaking. I am disgusted by all of it. I'm disgusted that I was overruled and they let those two idiots have a title shot. Now, Boz, quintessential tag team champion. I get it, but he and Bruss have been a tag team for exactly 8 minutes, and to give them the number one contendership bothers me. But it is what it is. And you said the Adam Stallion heel turn. Um, it was terrible. It was a horrible moment because he was one of the great heroes at CSW. You
Yes,
could always count on him. And now he's turned his back on his friend Cypher, who he got out of the mask and has made him into a household name. And now he's turned his back on him. It's going to be very difficult for me to hate all over Adam Stallion on commentary. Oh, but I will. Oh, but I will, because he broke my heart and broke our spirit.
I know it's gonna hurt because I loved Adam and Cypher coming out jumping around. That was the absolute treat. And then even used to love seeing him with the chips, miss the chips. But again, that's gonna be gone. It's gonna be all gone. You just flush that all away.
Maybe
Unbelievable.
maybe he'll be the commissar too. Maybe he'll join a faction with Warhorse. He recruits people, so you just never know.
Oh, okay. Well then, and then obviously also, I mean, Belmont. I believe she would have retained her women's championship. She's got a little bit of a mouth on her.
She does, and I have basically put landmine after landmine trying to take that title away from her. I have given her the best challenges possible. J Rod, Natalia Markova from NWA, Missa Kate in the 3 stages of Hell match, and she's won every time. This time I thought between the Spider and Lily, there was no way she was going to win, but here we are. Could she be one of the best CSW women champions history? I hope not, but it might be true because she's putting on quite a run.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to ask also, you've had tons of guests over at CSW, very notable names, obviously just recently, Donovan Dijakovic, Tommy Dreamer. You always have Hornswoggle around St. Patty's Day, usually pops around that time. I just want to ask you, maybe, do you have a dream guest for CSW?
Wow. You know what? I I I
I don't
I
want to get
don't
you in trouble, but
I don't dream because be careful what you wish for. You may get it. We had a guy named Scott Garland. Not going to say anything because my mom said don't say anything nice if you're not going to say anything at all.
fair enough.
Uh, so not so hotty indeed. But we've had some really great guests. Jacob Fatu was a guest at CFW. Despite some of the off the mat activities, hell of a guy. Uh, Luchasaurus. That was who saw that coming. Will Ospreay, lovely human. I mean, who? If you've had Will Ospreay, what am I looking for? John Moxley to show up next week? I don't
That's
know.
true. That's
Um,
true.
so I'll say we love anybody that will come out to do it. So do I have a dream guest? I mean, sure. Why don't I shoot for the moon? Why don't we have The Rock come out? Have old Dwayne come out to Franklin Park and do a little partying. I would love Jericho. Okay, okay. Let's just start Jericho. 100%. Give me Jericho anywhere. I want to work with Jericho because I think Jericho, of all the wrestling personalities I have enjoyed over the years, Jericho the most versatile. Jericho the most entertaining. Jericho draws you in like nobody else. From the moment he was Y2K, the Y2J problem, back in the back in the early 2000s, to right now at AEW, when he did that program with Matt Hardy, the deletist, as they called him at that time, with the what do they call those things? The drone, with the
Yeah,
drone.
yeah.
So much great theater he has
The elite,
created.
yeah.
I would love to have a show with Chris Jericho there. I don't think it would ever happen. I think he's too big. Probably would ask too much money. Working with Kurt Angle, though, I mean, between that and, I've had a chance to work with Mr. Anderson a couple of times. Godfather was great. So if I had to have anybody, got to be Jericho.
Oh, that'd be fun. That'd be fun. And obviously, exactly right. Because I mean, he invented everything, so it's a good way to get him on and
I
get
want to
him
get
going.
on his list just once.
Absolutely. Well, I kind of want to just maybe kind of switch it up. Maybe in the last couple of minutes here, kind of switch it up. Maybe talk about some mainstream wrestling. Maybe just any thoughts currently on the main storylines over in WWE or AEW? What's really catching your eye between? I don't know, anything between John Cena's 17th title reign, his heel turn. I mean, Karrion Kross is red hot right now, and then over on maybe the AEW side of things, maybe just like I said, John Moxley and his lack of title being shown. I just want to get your current thoughts on maybe any big storyline that you're focused on or really enjoying as of late.
I am enjoying the John Cena thing, not for the reasons you would think.
Okay.
That is some spectacularly advanced storytelling. And then after he won that title at WrestleMania, and everybody was just, and it was it was not a high energy match. It was not it was not a particularly stellar match between John Cena and Cody Rhodes.
No, not really. No.
And his interview post was not spectacular. And it goes back to what he said before WrestleMania happened. I am going to kill wrestling for everybody. And from the uninspired match, which I believe they did intentionally, to the lack of any kind of reaction, to his phoned in appearance, to the fact that he looks like he doesn't really care, he is essentially ruining wrestling one appearance at a time. And that you got to just give all the credit in the world to him and Paul Levesque for daring to have the criticism they got the day after WrestleMania to stay true to the storyline that I think by the end of the year, to me, it's legendary. And people are like, no, John Cena sucks. He can't wrestle anymore. He is playing you like a damn fiddle. It's amazing what they're doing with that character. It's the understated nothing that they're doing that is absolutely brilliant. So I love that. And on the AEW side, Sky Blue returns from injury. That was the holy shit moment for me at AEW this year. She almost had to retire. That was a very, very serious injury. And the fact that she came back and was energetic and did not have ring rust is a credit to who she is, how she works out, and the people that train her. So, those are my two favorite things in wrestling right now. And there's plenty of other good stuff. I mean, what they're doing with Seth Rollins and his new faction, that's a very interesting angle to take. And it's a good time to be enjoying wrestling on TV because there's so much of it and everybody's focused on stories and characters. Hell, Michael Cole is getting involved in matches. That's good for all us commentators, man.
That's true. When you setting a nice little standard there for you guys, would you agree that this is? I mean, at any point in time, at any point in day, Monday Night Raw. There's Tuesday, there's NXT, there's Dynamite. Thursday got TNA. Friday, anywhere between your local indie and Friday Night SmackDown. Every single day is wrestling. Is this truly the best time for wrestling of all times? I know the golden age was the '80s, but is this really the best time?
You would have to believe that right now to find it and watch it and consume it, it doesn't get much easier. I mean, it's around you. It's out there. You don't have to drive 700 miles to go to a local wrestling show. And they're well advertised. You look on Facebook for 5 seconds, you will see somebody hawking a show that's happening this weekend near you. Plus, with what WWE and AEW are doing with multi-nights, and Saturday Night Main Event is coming back. So that's another thing. And now every month you're getting these, paid events. WrestleMania, now SummerSlam are all 2-night events. I mean, you want to talk about milking the tit. They're doing that, boy. They're milking it. They're getting all they can out of it because you don't know when it's going to dry up. And we always go through that period when it's a boom and everybody feels good and it's really good. There's always a period where it backs off and kind of settles. And then they're like, it's not as cool anymore. And then something else happens and it rises up. So, like I said, enjoy the waves because they ebb and flow, just like the business of wrestling. It always ebbs and flows.
Boom and bust might happen, but I think consistency of what is cool is always going to be the indie scene for me. Indie scene is always going to be the top tier in terms of like just the underground, the real true sickos really go to the indie shows. So
you will certainly see some crazy things at the indie show that maybe you don't see on TV. But like I said, as long as everybody's enjoying it, everybody's having a good time. It's entertaining. People are getting to live their dreams. I mean, I'm all for it.
absolutely. Well, just about wrapped up here. We usually do a segment on our show called "Shooting from the Hip." So that's we take a topic, something we're really passionate about, anything in the wrestling industry. So I want to give you this opportunity, to shoot from the hip, whether it's exactly right, taking a shot at somebody, or just like I said, just putting something over, whatever you're really passionate about. What's on your mind? What's on Steve Aaron's mind in the wrestling industry?
I am not about taking shots at anybody, but I'll tell you what. Locker rooms are such an important dynamic in this business. And a good locker room is worth its weight in gold. A bad locker room can suck your soul right out of your body. So, my message to the world is when you work for a company and you're part of a team, be part of that team. If they need you to help put something away, do it. If they want you to talk to the fans, do it. If they want you to take a loss, do it. If they want to put a belt on you or take a belt off of you, do it. Work with the people that are paying you to do the business. Because if you don't, world will get around that you aren't very easy to work with. And I am blessed to be in some of the greatest locker rooms I've ever seen. Everywhere I go, Rocket Pro, CSW, Frontline Pro, Wrestle League, Chicago Knockouts Roller Derby. The locker rooms and the people that work there are a pleasure to be around. And like I said, as long as they keep telling an old man to keep coming back, I'll keep coming back, and till I have that big coronary, hopefully on air, because that would be fantastic, wouldn't it? A live on air death. Oh, come on!
It might
Think
get
of
some
the
numbers.
press.
It could get some numbers. You could get some good numbers.
Think of the clickbait.
Well, hopefully that doesn't happen. I hope
You never know.
Hopefully all the best of health, obviously.
When we are born to this world, we begin the dying process, as they say. So it's not tomorrow's not promised to anybody, but I'm living in the now and I'm hoping for the best.
Well, I did want to say quickly, outsider looking in, just as a fan, I see some truth to what you just said right there. A healthy locker room is the way to go. And again, it's been about, closing in on 2025, almost 6 years ago in these CSW shows. There's a lot of consistent names that have been staying at CSW, probably for a good reason, probably for the reason that, like you just said, very healthy locker room. So glad to see exactly right that there's a huge truth to that. Finally, I again just really want to say thank you again for your time here, Steve. Just want to again just give you the time, promote anything, everything, your social media, maybe your next shows, whatever next appearances you got coming up. Let the people know.
All right. Well, pretty easy to find out there on Facebook. I'm me. On Instagram, I'm me. On X, I'm me. I don't do TikTok very much, so I'm not really out there in any guys because I don't understand it. I don't understand how it works. To me, it just seems it's exhausting, but that's neither here nor there. Next show is Saturday, Marshfield, Wisconsin, Bakerville Bar and Grill. Frontline Pro presents Honor Bound, special guest Ken Anderson, amongst other dignitaries. So it's going to be a great show in Marshfield. IPW happening this Sunday, Richton Park. Rion Skills and Max Holiday taking on the program. Lots of cool things. Lots of champions from other promotions making guest appearances at IPW. So that's another good one. Later on, obviously, we got CSW coming up in June. June is a pretty quiet time. Most of the promotions take a little bit of a summer break. But like I said, follow the social medias. I'm out there. That's basically all I do is I promote where I'm going to be and what I'm doing so people can get out there and see some cool shit.
Awesome. Again, Steve Ahrendt, general manager of CSW, commentator. Really wanted to say thanks again. And well, this might either be the end of BKW or we might be going into a commercial break. So either way, thanks again, Steve, for joining us in, and thanks again for everyone for watching us at home.
Viva la BKW and Viva la Illinois Media School. I still want my money back.
Well, those they might be holding on to that one. So until then, thank you for joining it in, and thank you guys for watching. Take care. Have a great one.